If we can bring this meeting to order, please. We will have the invocation done by City Manager Andrew Pasmont, and then the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Fred Sykes. Will you please rise and remove your hats?
Father in heaven, you are most holy and blessed. You are our rock, our strength, and our might. Help us to feed on our truth and maintain our integrity. Your word is our comfort and a refuge when we are weak. We ask that you lighten our burden and soften our anguish and give us the comfort that your Spirit imparts. Guide our leaders as they make the difficult decisions for this community. Help us to walk worthily in your presence and forgive us when we fall short. We ask that your Holy Spirit lift up our hearts and give us strength to overcome the tribulations of each day. May heaven and earth always declare your glory and honor forever and ever. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge to the flag of our nation. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam City Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Tui.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanderson. Here. Councilmember Herford.
Here.
Councilmember Sykes.
Here.
Councilmember Sotelo.
Here.
Okay, report out of closed session. Mr. City Attorney, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The record should reflect that the City Council did hold its special meeting pursuant to the items listed on the notice of special meeting. And this is my report out from the closed session. All members of the City Council were present during the closed session. The Council did consider the item listed on the agenda, that being Government Code Section 54957.6, Conference with Labor Negotiators concerning the various employee organizations listed on the notice of special meeting. There was a report provided by staff. There was direction provided by Council. However, there was no final action on this item, and there is nothing further to report. And that concludes my report out from closed session.
Thank you. If we can, Mr. City Manager, changes to the agenda.
Yeah, we have one item. There is an additional response from the appellant on item number 11, which deals with the Eastland Shopping Center. And so that's been distributed to the council. It's in front of your dais. And before the presentations begin and after the oath of office, if I could have just a second to have staff address what's been passed out to you.
The T-shirts or the pamphlets?
Pamphlets.
They got 5X. Someone got this wrong. I gained some weight. I only got a 6. That was for you, Fred. We're going to go ahead and drop down to do the oath of office. If Rob could please join me downstairs in front. Rob, I'm going to go ahead and give you the microphone, and you have to repeat after me. You hold the microphone in your left hand and raise your right hand.
I, Robert Sotelo, solemnly swear
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance
And I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
to the Constitution of the United States and Constitution of California.
That I will take this obligation freely.
I will take this obligation freely
You can think about this one without any mental reservation.
without any mental reservation.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon
And I will and faithfully discharge the duties upon
which I am about to enter for the city of West Covina.
and I'm about to enter with the city of West Covina.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
your family? We're going to go ahead and turn it over to Councilmember Rob Sotelo so he can introduce his family.
I'd like to introduce my family first. I have my wife, Sue.
Stand up, Sue.
My daughter, Amanda. My son, Robbie. My grandson, Bobby. My daughter, Vicki. Her husband, Daniel Lavera. I have Michelle and Tina Vandergoes. Thank you guys for coming. And I'd like to thank Mike and Steve and Shelley for supporting me. And I know I'm taking a big step, and I'm taking this appointment. I'll do my best. I've been working for the City of West Covina for 30 years. I'll do my best to work with staff and the city and with the rest of the council. And I really accept this as an honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob. We'll drop down to presentations. We're going to first turn it over to and introduce Dr. Catherine Nichols, the superintendent from Covina Valley Unified School District. Catherine. I have to make sure I get, can you guys hear her out there yet? Go ahead now, Catherine.
Mic on? Is it on?
Yep. Sorry about that.
Okay, that's fine. It's really a pleasure for me to be here tonight and to talk to you a little bit about Covina Valley Unified School District and what we're doing in our school district because we have so many schools in our school district that actually are in West Covina. And so all of the pictures in the PowerPoint are kids that we have in our school district. We have the students for 13 years, and we are creating extraordinary futures. We want to share a little bit about those with you, those futures we're creating. When I was in college, I had a professor, and he frequently began his lectures with, imagine with me, if you will. And in front of you, I do have the PowerPoint for you to follow along, but imagine with me, if you will, a place called school that cultivates each student's hopes and dreams so our students flourish. Our vision for the future demands that students graduate from Covina Valley Unified as creative problem solvers and thinkers. We have 6 core values that we operate within our school district, and we begin and we end with the students. And those values are passion and commitment to our students. We work with integrity and trusting relationships and have compassion and creativity in the work we're doing in the schools. We have a theory of action, of leadership and collaboration leading to innovation. We're tapping into leaders throughout our community, to their passions, to their thoughts in a really collaborative way. We believe that by talking together and problem solving, we will have innovation in our schools. Our 3 priorities is to increase student achievement, close the achievement gap between the students who are achieving well and the students who are struggling, and create a 4-year college-going culture for all of our students, whether or not they ultimately attend college, so they have an opportunity to have a successful future. So how do we make this happen? We have 17 schools in Covina Valley Unified. 6 of them are in West Covina. You can see Grove Center, Mesa, Roland, Workman, Trawick, and South Hills High, and their academic performance indexes, which are quite high, which is how schools in the state are judged according to how the students are performing. We have more than 1,500 employees and more than 13,000 students that we serve. We're creating a Futures Council in Covina Valley. It's comprised of parents, administrators, classified staff, business owners, board members, and we also have an alternative think tank comprised of PTA presidents, school site council people, and community members. And what they're talking about and what they're considering is what's possible. What are our challenges that we face in our school district, particularly with regard to leveraging people and our resources, particularly during these most difficult financial times. But what's really possible for our students, and how do we keep focused on the futures of our students? We know that our students are going to need literacy, math, and science as they move along, and technology. But we also know that there's other skills that they're going to need. Creativity, focused on innovation and curiosity, critical thinking, where students are problem solving, analyzing problems, and applying solutions, collaboration with teamwork, communication, both orally and in writing, and also with an understanding of multiple cultures, civics, which is very apropos for this evening, in terms of democracy and productivity and contributions to society, and character. What are we doing to help our students develop strong character and integrity so that when they do leave us, they are productive members of our towns and of our society, and that they do operate with integrity? So we look at those other subset of skills that the students need and work on those in our Futures Council in order to make recommendations to the Board of Education. So we're wrapping together student achievement, closing the achievement gap, and creating a 4-year college-going culture with bridging college and careers through various academies. And so we have academies in all 4 of our high schools. We have 3 comprehensive high schools in our school district and 1 continuation high. And we're particularly interested in creating industry standard classes within particular pathways where students can job shadow and have internships while they're still in high school. We're partnering with industry and higher education so students can take college-level courses while they're in high school, earn college credits, and provide state-of-the-art equipment to our kids. At Covina High School, we have the Business and Entrepreneurship Academy, where we're teaching the business principles in agricultural business. We're also offering marketing and digital design, accounting, and we have a partnership with Kaiser Federal Bank and with the University of Laverne, again, where students can take college classes while they're still in high school. There's an example of the classrooms that we've created using the bond money because of community support and also QZEB dollars. In addition to that, we've created the Arts and Media and Entertainment Academy at Northview High School, where students will learn about film and TV broadcasting, digital filmmaking, broadcast journalism, video editing. We have strong partnerships with Key Code Media and the Covina Center of Performing Arts, along with University of Laverne, again, and Mount SAC. The equipment the students will be using is equivalent to what they will find in typical TV studios in the United States. In addition to that, we've created the Information Technology Academy at South Hills High School, where the students can do computer science, video production, and digital arts. But we've also offering Project Lead the Way in conjunction with Cal Poly Pomona, where students who are interested in engineering can take those classes as high school students and do a segue right into an engineering program. So at that high school, we have a relationship with Cal Poly Pomona and DeVry University. There's an example of the buildings and the classrooms. We are creating a vocational trade center at Fair Valley High School. There'll be 4 pathways. We're looking at what they will potentially offer the kids, but it looks like it'll be welding, carpentry, green technology, and plumbing. And again, the students are able to bridge. That's a schematic of what those buildings will look like. And they'll be able to bridge again, taking the college courses the kids need to get to college with career pathways and learning about the trades, so that when they graduate from high school, they've got more options to be successful as they move along into adulthood. After all, college begins in kindergarten with high expectations for all our kids, and you can see a picture of them. And we have no excuses university in many of our elementaries, particularly some of the elementaries here in West Covina, where we're really permeating the elementary campuses with the expectation that our students will go to college. And so they do chants, there's college banners, they do research about college, and they're adopting colleges, so that it's all about really creating a very academic environment for our kids. Although we've been through incredibly devastating budget cuts, very excruciating budget cuts, We've been able to fight and maintain small class sizes in kindergarten, first, second, and third of 22 and a half kids. I feel sorry for that little half child, but 22 and a half kids in each class to give that individualized personal attention in a very small, excuse me, supportive environment. We're preparing all of our kids for college, and you can see these are our youngest babies. These are the little goats that were just born at Covina High School. We have Future Farmers of America at Covina High, so we have the baby goats over there. But we have scholar athletes who are getting CIF champions with four-year colleges. We offer 22 advanced placement classes. We're going to be offering the International Baccalaureate to our students. We're going through that process. And we offer AVID, Advancement via Individual Determination, for kids whose parents have never gone to college, who are BC kids who need the additional support in order to be prepared to go to a four-year college. And that's really important for us because we have lots of kids whose parents haven't gone to college, and they're C students, they're capable students, but they need additional support, they need the mentoring in order to get to college. And Future Farmers of America, the little goats. We are achieving excellence. This year we had another school named as a California Distinguished School. That's the highest ranking award you can get in the state of California. We have several schools who are Title I achieving schools. One of them is in West Covina, was just named last year. That was Workman Elementary. We have Model Continuation High School. We've been named by California Business for Educational Excellence. We've been named on their honor roll for the work that we're doing in our schools. And we have National Merit finalists. We had 2 last year and 2 this year from South Hills High School. We can't do it alone, though. We know that we're part of this community. In part, that's why I'm here tonight, to have an opportunity for you to know what's happening in Covina Valley, because we do have schools residing clearly in West Covina, and we're really seeking strong partnerships with the communities that we reside within. And we are developing very strong relationships with higher education and business partners. You can see a list of our business partners and of the higher ed that we're developing relationships with, because we're not an island. We can't be isolated. We need to be reaching out and networking. So I appreciate your time this evening. Here's some of the work we've done with the dollars we've gotten from our 2 bond measures, because we've experienced such wonderful community support both in 01 and 06. And so we've been able to utilize those dollars very, very well to serve our students and our schools. And I appreciate West Covina, who gave South Hills Beautification Award most recently, and that was kind of nice that we were awarded in that fashion. And so student success is our success, and we are committed to creating extraordinary futures for our students. And I want to thank you for your time this evening. I know that you've got a rather busy evening, it looks like, and a packed agenda. But I just wanted to thank you for this opportunity to give you an update on Covina Valley Unified.
Thank you, Dr. Nichols. Does anyone have any questions of Dr. Nichols? Councilmember Sykes.
I saw
Thank you.
you over at South Hills one evening.
Thank you. The school where you got the highest award, if you know the API, do you know that?
Not off the top of my head. It's in the 800s. It was Barranca just received it this year, and Workman received Title I Achieving last year, and the year before that, Roland received the California Distinguished School as well. But not off the top of my head, it's high 800s.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I know Fair Valley Continuation is a good school.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, Councilwoman, or Mayor Pro Tem Sanderson.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. We appreciate it. My children have gone through and are going through the Covina Valley Unified School District, and it's a great district, and we really appreciate you coming out tonight. So thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions? Dr. Nichols, I just want to tell you, obviously, you know my brother and sister-in-law teach in your district, and I think it's a great school district. My sister-in-law was your previous or past Teacher of the Year in the district, and I just know that they greatly appreciate everything you're doing in there and the board, so thank you very much. And I have a chance to visit. I just did your Fair Valley Continuation. the job to talk about
Oh,
college. I
sure.
forgot the career day.
fair, yes.
So I had a chance to participate in that. So thank you very much for everything you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good evening.
We drop down to presentations. Then we'll turn it over to you, Andy. Our next will be the 57th Assembly District Woman of Achievement. If I can have Maureen Hines, please come down. Maureen Hines was recently selected as the 57th Assembly District Woman of Achievement for her dedicated volunteer service as the Food Bank Director for the Assembly of God Church in Covina. The food bank serves between 300 and 500 individuals a month. She is so dedicated to serving the needy that both Maureen and her husband have spent the last 20 years on their wedding anniversary and birthdays serving the less fortunate at the Fred Jordan Mission in Los Angeles. Let's give a round of applause for her dedication. And on behalf of the City Council and the City of West Covina, we're pleased to recognize Maureen Hines as receiving the 57th Assembly District Woman of the Year. Congratulations. Once again, can you give some brief comments?
I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and it's a joy to do this. I see so many people are being helped by this because of the economy. So many people have been coming to the food bank, but we have enough food that we can give to everyone. And we pick up the food from the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank in LA every Tuesday morning at 4:30 and bring it back to Covina Assemblies of God Church and bag them, and the recipients come Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 2 to 4 to pick up the food once a month. I thank you and appreciate everything that you do.
Thank you very much. Our next is a 24th Senate District Woman of Achievement. Can we please have West Covina Youth Council President Megan Manahan please come down? Megan? Megan was recently selected as a recipient of the 24th Senate District Emerging Leader Award for her dedicated volunteer service as the President of West Covina Youth Council. Through her leadership on the Youth Council, the Youth Council supports Community Services Department at all the city events, including the 4th of July celebration, the exciting egg hunt, the Christmas tree lighting ceremony, and many other events. In addition, Megan is the president of West Covina High School ASB, participated on the West Covina High swim team, and active in many school clubs, such as National English Honor Society, the Interact Club, California Scholarship Foundation, National Honor Society, and Go Green Club. Even with all these activities, she still maintains, which is impressive, a GPA of over 3.8. Congratulations. And once again, on behalf of the City of West Covina and the City Council, we're pleased to recognize Megan Manahan on receiving the 24th Senate District Woman of the Year. Congratulations for all your work you do on the Youth Council. And would you like to say a few words about the Youth Council and everything like
Hello. This is my 4th year in Youth Council, and it is amazing what we get to do. We get to work with everyone in the community and put on events for families, and we work with the library and the mall to host events for holidays and things like that. And it's really a lot of fun to be able to work with the kids and get to host fun, free events for families so that they can just get involved in the community. And it really means a lot to me to be able to give back in such a way. So I'm really honored to have this award, and thank you for listening.
Thank you once again for Megan and Maureen.
Mr. Mayor, may I have a
Yes, Mr. City Manager.
moment? Yeah, if I can have Mr. Freeland go ahead and address a handout that's been prepared, and I think the community might have an interest in this. Mr. Freeland?
Thank you, Mr. Pasman. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. For the members of the community, as you walked in today, there's a little brochure out there called Get Active. This is a partnership between the City of West Covina through our Community Services Department, as well as that of the West Covina Rotary Club. Rotary Club provided a donation to do all the printing of these brochures. What these brochures are is actually a map of 9 different parks in our community with different walking trails to encourage our residents to get out and get active. And it tells you what your target heart rate should be. It tells you some of the great features at our local parks. And we encourage the residents to make sure that they pick up one of these. They'll be available here shortly on our website. And with the new mobile phone application that we're in the final stages of approving, that will be made available on that as well, Mr. Mayor. So if anybody has any questions, we're quite proud of this publication. And again, kudos to the Community Services Department, and especially Lindell Morgan, who helped put this publication together.
Thank you very much, and it looks great. We're going to drop down to oral communications. Carolyn Arndt is the first speaker, and on deck would be Joanne Wilner for her first time. I know she has a public hearing. I want to remember, Joanne.
Yes, my name is Carolyn Arndt, also gone by the Old Biddy. The Old Biddy is in the chambers tonight. Thank you. Mr. Carmen. I'm here to talk about the Westfield project that involves our Civic Center. I knew from the very beginning that this was filed that Westfield was involved, but I didn't know to what extent. And now I know. We are as adamant today as we were when this injunction was filed. I have paperwork here from the State of California Controller dated July 2006. This city was in debt at that time, $685,473,941. Nothing has changed. We still are in debt up to our eyeballs. But selling that land does not take it away. And so we are adamant that in your isolation and in your arrogance, you made a really, really bad decision and are dividing the city. Now, there's been an injunction filed, and you're very well aware of it. And if you want this to not cost this city a ton more money, you need to just stop the injunction. I'm not going to tell you that the recall is going to go away, because there are serious issues. But that will help save money in this community. And you really need to give that some serious, serious thought. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carolyn. Joanne Wilner, then Irene Fleck is on deck. Joanne.
Congratulations to you, Bob, Rob, Councilman Sotelo. Regarding number 12, I recommend you approve the resolution reducing the stipend for commissioners as a small step in budget control. A bigger step is for one or all of you to request a report on what actions are required to change and reduce or eliminate the stipend and benefits that you, the council, each can receive. Another item of concern, Westfield has sold out the citizens of West Covina to being a community of less than mediocre values and more crime by leasing to Walmart for a superstore in Eastland. I don't see how Westfield or the city will gain from this. Old Navy has already left, and I understand that others too are planning to close. This is a zero-sum game. Good-paying jobs are going to be lost. What bothers me most is that the citizens of West Covina strenuously objected to having a Walmart in the city, and the council at the time listened to us when the Heights was being built. Now Walmart is sneaking in. A year ago, there was a rumor about this, which Mr. Herford skirted around answering when asked to verify. Recently, I tried to get info from various staff members with no avail. Everyone says they have no idea what is going on there. This is too big a development for the city manager or council not to know about. There are building permits open for not only Mervyn's, but includes the expansion into the next large suite. I walked around the area yesterday and went inside. It is humongous. These improvements are too large to do on speculation of getting a tenant. You certainly have to know about it. I can't be the first one to tell you that Walmart hopes to open in August before the start of school or by Black Friday. Westfield could have chosen not to lease to Walmart. There is no crime in that. A year ago, the city should have told Westfield that we do not want a Walmart here. Mayor Toohey, I believe you were a consultant in the Baldwin Park Walmart deal. Are you involved with this Walmart deal? Walmart is alleged to being involved in bribery. I only hope that nothing like that is going on here. Is our only way of fighting this to boycott Walmart and both Westfield Eastland and Westfield malls? That really would hurt our financial condition. Thank you.
Thank you. Joanne, to answer your first question before Irene Fleck comes up, I work for Lewis Retail Centers. Okay, that was who I worked for. Okay, what they do, just like anyone else, if you had it when you worked, what your employer does, Lewis does not own Westfield. So it has nothing to do with who the tenant ultimately was with Lewis Retail Centers. I was a property acquisition person for Lewis Retail Centers, and who they lease to is up to the owners of the company. Just wanted to clarify that for the record. Irene Fleck and Phil Marino is on deck.
Good evening. I have two things to talk about. Both of them are happy, I think. I wanted to mention how pleased I am that Gulster has been redone years ago and it's still maintaining itself. And there's an artist up there that paints beautiful pictures and then she cuts them up to make bookmarks. So although I know people don't read books anymore, I have brought you bookmarks. They're just beautiful. And the other thing I want to tell you about is that we had a petting zoo this Saturday at the library. And it's always fun because it's little kids and big kids and adults all get in these little pens and play with the animals. But it was a huge success, and they were able to mingle with a good collection of animals. But in addition to that, we're having another petting zoo that's planned for Wednesday, May 23rd. But this is a technological petting zoo. And it's going to be a very exciting sort of thing. We're going to be able to, this is on Saturday the 23rd, it's going to give people a chance to play with all of these interesting technological things. It's the Nook Color, the Kindle, the netbooks and Galaxy tablets and iPod. And it includes the Kindle Fire, which is absolutely incredible. But after you have a chance to find out how to work these things, if you don't already know, then you will be given the procedure for accessing free ebooks and audiobooks from the county library website. And then another thing that is really, I think it's wonderful that is being brought as a service to the library is a workshop put on by the Legal Association. It's called Stay Out of Court with Mitigation to Negotiation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Irene. We have Phil Marino up now and Dora Guzman on deck. Dora, is she still here? Okay, thank you. Dora Gomez, I'm sorry, I said Guzman, I'm sorry.
My name is Phil Moreno, and I've been a resident of the city since 1979. The three reasons I moved into this city were, number one, it had great schools and I had a young family. The second one is it had a great fire and police department. The one thing that I cannot understand is the sign that says you're for fire and police. Fully staffed. Our police department had 128 personnel. We're down to 90. That means every specialized unit that you say you support has been disbanded. I can name them, but you can ask Frank Willis to come down and make a statement about what he does not have. But you're for the police department, right? The only way they get equipment is through asset forfeiture. You don't buy their radio cars. You don't even pay for their overtime. When they need specialized equipment, radios, whatever, they got to go back to asset forfeiture. So the three of you better clean up that brochure you put up saying you're for my police department. And the only reason the fire department is fully staffed is because the grant that you got said they had to be fully staffed. Do you remember when you brought up all those firemen? That was one of the conditions of that grant. So let me tell you about the subject I came here for. The West Covina City budget for the fiscal year 2012-2013. Mr. Sotelo, Mr. Sykes, I would hope that both of you take this to heart, because you're not part of this. The citizens of West Covina know that this city has not had a balanced budget for many years. So we ask this city council the following questions. Number one, in the last 10 years, how many of the city's fiscal budgets have been balanced without the use of the city's reserve funds? And you said it was 2008 and the collapse of the economy? You said it was because of the loss of redevelopment funds? When I come back with that 10-year report with the help of Mr. Bachman, all I have to do is take a look at the city's reserves being depleted year after year after year for the last 10 years. And I will come back and I will tell you what the reserves were 10 years ago, hence, till today. So, second question. Do you know the income of the city for the next fiscal year, starting July 1st, 2012, till June 30th of 2013? And if you don't, you should. You're a councilman. That's why we sent you here. A law keeps an honest man honest. You have to know the income of the city if you want to run it. Number three, do you know the expenses of the city for the fiscal year 2012 to 2013? And number four, at this time, do the expenditures of the city for the fiscal year 2012 to 2013 exceed the income of the city? If we do not have a balanced budget for the fiscal year 2012 to 2013, and that's not using the reserves, the citizens of this city would like to have each council member either resign or come up with a solution to this ongoing spending problem. No taxpayer in this city can spend more than he brings home. This city council has had years to find a solution to their excessive spending habits. If you cannot find an answer to the first 3 questions, then you're not fit to be a council member. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Dora Guzman. And Julie Shepard is next on deck.
Good evening. My name is Dora Gomez.
Go, I did it again.
It doesn't matter. As long as they don't call me late for dinner, you can call me whatever. I'm Vice Chairman of the Board at Covina Assembly of God, located at 250 East San Bernardino Road in Covina. Mayor Tooley, council members, I'm here tonight to thank you for honoring one of our own, Maureen Hines. We're proud to have Maureen as part of our church. She's a great example to each and every one of us working in our many community outreach ministries. And one of them, of course, is our food bank, which, by the way, we do have quite a bit of not only Covina and Azusa, but also from West Covina, because we do ask for them to register. And it's not just our food bank that we have at our church, which we feed about 500 families a month. And they're only allowed to come once every 30 days, so that tells you. And we have emergency boxes there, too, in case somebody comes that needs something like right now. And Maureen has been a terrific example there and always willing to do whatever is needed to be done to keep that food bank going. We do have quite a bit of volunteers, but she is our go-to example as to what volunteer is. And we've all tried, but when we found out she was getting all these honors by District for Remarkable Woman of the Year for the District 57, we wanted to get her signature so we could sell it after. But anyway, we are proud she received the honor of being chosen as Remarkable Woman of the 57th District. And then the following Monday, her and her husband were taken to Sacramento and honored there at the state capitol by our Governor Brown. And she was the Woman of the Year for the state. So we are very honored for Maureen. She had to go, I think she has to get up early in the morning. But again, thank you for acknowledging Maureen, and we are truly proud of her. And I also want to extend a special invitation to several of our outreaches that we do have quite a bit of people that come from West Covina. The one coming up is our Back to School Blast, which is held at the Covina Park. There we have 1,200 backpacks with all the school supplies a child will need to start school. And this is from kindergarten all the way up to high school. Free haircuts, and I think the Lion Club also helps us provide glaucoma exam and high blood pressure, free haircuts by a beauty school that comes and does haircuts for kids. We give prizes from various businesses, provide a meal for everybody that comes and registers there. So you are all welcome to come, and this is in August. But again, thank you for honoring one of our own. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dora. Julie Shepard, and then Blanca Vinzer is on deck. Blanca.
Hi, I'm Julie Shepard. Joanne Wilmer kind of talked about what I wanted to talk about. Is this last week I called City Hall, I called 4 departments, and I also was shifted over to Westfield, and nobody would give me a straight answer about Eastland. Now, why is that?
I think the city manager can answer that. I don't think we have word from Westfield as to what's going in yet.
There's no official word. I mean, they have the ability to develop as long as they comply with all of the codes for construction. It's for retail use, and they have the ability to disclose whatever tenant they wish to disclose, but they have to meet the parking requirements for those uses.
You know, normally when somebody's building something, they have a sign, Mervin's will be here soon, or Timbuktu will be here soon, but nothing. It's like it's been a secrecy. And I just really resent that, being a 55-year resident of West Covina.
Well, again, that's private property, and as long as they comply with the codes and there's no discretionary approvals required by the city, they have the right to comply.
Porn star or a marijuana store can come in there? As long as they comply with every little,
Well, they wouldn't apply.
Let her finish her comments, and you can answer the questions.
oh, I'm finished.
I understand, but we can't, going back and forth is what we can't do. We can answer your questions if you're done.
Okay, well, there's got to be some kind of okay or some kind of something, because you can't just let anybody come in because they want to.
If you're, he can't answer your question until you're finished speaking,
I'm
you
done.
can't continue talking. Number one, Mrs. Shepherd, it is a private property. Number two, I believe the building permits that are currently are in Westfield's name. They're doing the work. So it's up to them what they want to disclose. A private property owner, if they don't need approvals from the city, doesn't have to tell us or anyone else anything. Just like if you're legally doing a room at your house that doesn't require, or doing any type of work to your house that doesn't require notification, you don't have to disclose to everyone else around your home what you're doing on your private property. That's up to the person who owns the home or the property, what they want to do, as long as they're operating within the law. And that's, I don't know how else to tell you. It's up to Westfield what they want to disclose or not disclose. We don't hear about tenants until they are announced to open, and that's when we get the list. In fact, we were told Barbecue Galore was going in at Fashion Plaza, which I know is Fashion Plaza, and that never still materialized, even though they said it was getting ready to schedule for opening. That never came forward. That does happen. Okay? I just...
Well, all I know is all surrounding cities and everywhere that have fought Walmart, they had a lot of publicity over it, and here has been nothing. I just think it's
I
rotten.
understand. I'm just saying, when a thing is approved for retail, and it happened in L.A., and they, just like L.A. found legally in Chinatown, you can't do nothing. It met the code since it was approved for a retail center. The one is going along in Chinatown. If you just seen in the L.A. Times 2 days ago, the one in Panorama City is going forward too, because it was zoned for a store, a retail store, and they don't need anything else if that's what they want to do. But that's between the property owner, the one leasing the property, and them. If a bookstore was coming in, they don't have to get approvals from us. It's zoned for retail over by your house, over by the 7-Eleven, like on Francisquito and Azusa. As long as something is a retail store and meets the threshold and doesn't need a CUP, we wouldn't disclose it. It's up between the property owner and the person. This to allow the taco stand that opened up over there, or the T-Mobile store that opened up. It's up to them as long as it meets the legal code.
But you're telling me that nobody in the city knew when I called what was going in there?
I believe we can get sued doing any type of release of information, because if it isn't true, like with Barbecue Galore, it's not our property. We're violating someone else's tenant relationship, and we can get sued. And I don't think the city should be put in that position to potentially be sued for damaging a contractual relationship between an owner of a property and a tenant that we have no legal business to be in. That's a dangerous and a fine line you're talking about walking down. And you will pay out a tremendous amount of money if people walk based upon those things. But you were a resident. Go ahead, Andy.
I was going to add to that. You know, we have, as you said, a dangerous line we have to walk in terms of information, because things are confidential, and we don't want to get in the way of invading a contractual relationship that may exist. And one example that's fairly recent has to do with the Michaels store that opened up in the Toys R Us. We're not allowed to release those names of tenants, even up to the point where they had billboards a few months before they even opened. They still would not allow the city to release any information and held us to those confidences.
Well, I just hope the
Thank you.
residents in West Covina don't come unglued when they find out what is going on.
Blanca Vinzer and George Ogden is on deck.
Good evening. My name is Blanca Venzer, and I'm here to address the ridiculous signs that say no recall, keep West Covina Fire and Police. Save them from what? This recall is not at all about that. Proponents for the recall want our police and fire. I repeat, we want our police and fire departments. In the San Gabriel Valley Tribune last week, spokesman Gabriel Monades from the Police Officers Union said the signs are misleading and being used to scare the people. Is this not dirty politics at its best? Who is paying for these signs? In the article, Steve Herford says that he and Mike Toohey are 100% behind the green lawn signs. You know, this is a scare tactic for the people, so that to me would make sense why you are behind the signs. Proof once again why the recall is on. Oh, and by the way, since Mr. Monades, the spokesman for the Police Association, says they are not behind the recall movement, so that clearly indicates the signs are a lie and the proponents for the recall want them removed from the public. In this article, it was mentioned that the council members said they believe public safety will be compromised should recall backers gain a seat on the council. That is toxic leadership thinking at its best. You know that there are numerous reasons why this recall is on. After all, Steve Herford, when it was publicly stated that the recall was going to become a reality, I was seated in the audience, and I remember hearing your arrogance and ignorance by saying, "Bring it on." Are you serious to speak in that manner, in that tone to the constituents? And please stop reminding us that you've been here on the panel for 22 years. It's time to go. When you speak, it's a shining example why we need a change on our council and city. A Don Carmen who opposes the recall in the Tribune article, you have the audacity to say it's just a petty movement on the part of these people. It's just a bunch of old biddies complaining. If you're here tonight, I challenge you to say it here publicly. And by the way, you are so misinformed. This is more than just a petty movement. Shows how much you know. One last thing. We want our police and fire departments. We support them. This recall has nothing to do with our public safety. I'd like to thank the fire department and police for the wonderful T-shirts. We support you. Thank you very much.
If we can please not do that and get through our oral communications, please. This is a decorum meeting. Show some. George Ogden is up, and Herb Redholz is on deck.
Good evening, Council. Hey, welcome, Rob. My name is George Ogden, and I'm with the Community Services and the Senior Commission. Recently, I was approached by a World War II veteran and a senior citizen. I believe two of the council members are pretty much aware of who he may be, and for the purposes of what I'm going to talk about, because of the right to privacy laws, I'm not going to mention his name because it has to do with possibly a health issue. I do need to thank you, Steve, for you addressing this and helping him out with this situation. Back on March 1st, he called for medical services only to be transported to Queen of the Valley Hospital. The gentleman felt that he may be ill. He did not want to drive. He's 95 years old. He asked the paramedics, he asked the 911 operators to send an ambulance to transport him to the hospital and to not to have sirens blaring or any other equipment to show up. The ambulance did arrive. They did transport him. Now the question arises is now the bill that came, and thanks again, Steve, for helping with this, is the bill came to $1,588. Even though the individual is insured, there are some members out there that are not insured, and this is fairly expensive for transportation. I don't know what incurred here in the cost to make this come to this amount. I've had other friends of mine that have been transported for emergency situations, and I don't believe it got this high. Another question that I had, I don't know where to go with this, so that's why I'm kind of coming here and asking for direction. You can give me a call after the, later at my home, but it is requested that the payment be made to the City of West Covina Fire Department in Sacramento. Are we outsourcing our finances for something like this, or how does that work, or why is that there? That's kind of the question that I have. I'm not sure who to go to, and I didn't want to take up the time administration's offices to find this out. But I would like to see if this was a clerical error or if this is just something that's common. And I want to give you a scenario of something that happened about 10 years ago. There was a traffic accident occurred where the individual decided he wanted to drive himself to the hospital because prior occasion he was driven to the hospital and the bill was fairly high. The officer at the time was Jack Mansell that handled the case. I just happened to be there at the time. The individual attempted to make a quick left turn and he caught a passing pickup truck and caused the truck to flip at the corner of Merced and Valinda. And the two individuals were trapped inside the truck and they were able to get out. But this man's response, he felt he was having a heart attack and drove himself to the hospital, and he didn't want to pay the expenses. That obviously got a little bit more expensive for him. I believe the problem that he had was only indigestion. But I would like to just find out a little bit more about this, and if I could get some direction, so in the future, if I should have somebody ask me this question, I might be able to help them or give them some direction. And again, thanks for your help in supporting the veteran here.
Thank you. If you want to address that first before you come up, Herb, if that's okay. I think, number one, you raised a question. The person that was a low bid for the billing, I believe, is Whitman.
Yes.
Billing service. She does most of the billing for a lot of the ambulance fire departments that have ambulance services. So that part of it, I did not support that here, or did I support the balance billing, which the city does, which means that some people, if you have Medi-Cal or Medicare, they will accept whatever they pay. People that don't have insurance, we go after you. Some people that don't have enough insurance, we balance bill for you. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever had that type of thing. Balance billing does. So if you have $900 insurance, I'll try to collect the other $600. To me, if you accept some as full payment, it's a question how we go about doing that. But I did not support that. And it is a little confusing. We get this issue raised up to us numerous times when it comes to that. Andy?
Yeah, our rates are established at the countywide level, so the rates are consistent. And I can share with you that I've had experience in different jurisdictions where they've actually maintained the same level of charges for those to do the transports. So we're no different than those other agencies. And what was stated was correct. Our billing company is actually a vendor that we've hired a number of years ago to handle the billing when we created the program.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Herford.
The issue of the billing address in Sacramento, that is a concern because when I talked to the veteran about the problem, he wasn't even sure if it was a real bill because he said, well, why do I have to send the bill to Sacramento to the city of West Covina? So I'd like to get an answer on that too because I really never heard the answer on why we send the bill to Sacramento.
Do you have an answer for that? You want to wait?
I'll check and see if that's their mail-in address or whether we can use a local mail-in address to collect. I'll have to check further on that.
And I don't know if you heard everything, George. He said the Department of Health Services for the Los Angeles County establishes the rates for us. And that's why I think some of the firefighters here are going to explain to you the paramedic subscription service, which, again, it's another thing. I didn't support that, but it is another alternative out there. And thank you. We have Herb Redholz now up on, and then on deck, Forrest Wilkins. Forrest.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. First off, I'd like to congratulate my friend and former colleague for years, Rob Sotelo, on your appointment. I wish you all the best in your new position, Rob. Second thing is I would like to thank the City Council and in particular Councilmember Herford for appointing me several years ago to serve as a commissioner for this fine city. I served as a commissioner for over 9 years, the last 6.5 as a planning commissioner, and believe me, it's an honor and a privilege to serve the city and its residents in that role. And I can tell you I never took that responsibility lightly or for granted. And I was privileged to work alongside good colleagues over the years, past and present. I have nothing but high regard for our professional planning staff. When I first got on, Doug McIsaac was the director, all the way through now to our current director, Jeff Anderson, and Fabiola Wong, and Ron Garcia, and Amy Davis, and Lydia, and Sherry Sinclair was in the office too. We have an outstanding staff that really makes our job, which is not easy because, we're not, I'm not a professional land use guy, planner, zoning guy, but they teach us and guide us and help us make our decisions, the best decisions we can make for the city and the residents. And it was an honor to serve, and I thank you for that opportunity. I hope one day that I can come back and sit on that side of the dais once again and once again serve the city and the residents. And I appreciate the opportunity to serve. And this book that we got here from the is paid for by the Rotary and put together by our Community Services Department is a wonderful idea and a great asset, and I think the residents will get a good use out of it, and this is what a good city is all about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Herb. We have Forrest Wilkins and John Shoemaker on deck. John?
Good evening. Congratulations, Councilman Sotelo. I have two things. First one is vendors. Our son is a sophomore at West Covina High School in last year and this year. It's been an occasion or two that I've had to pick him up. And right across from the school, when school gets out, for about 45 minutes to an hour, are usually one or two vendors. They have the shopping carts, so I assume they're probably taken without the proper authorization. They're peddling corn, various other things. To my visual, I don't see any handy wipes, any sanitation there. So I think we have a health issue there. Probably don't have any business license there. So I've made a couple phone calls over a period of last year and this year, and my son came home today and said, "Dad, they're still there." So I passed that on to the City Council.
And for us, this the shopping carts, or I see occasionally that ice cream truck parked over there near the entrance. That one too, or?
I assume,
okay.
bad word I've learned in adult life, but I assume that probably has a health permit. It's a vehicle, and they usually have some type of health permit. They're subject to the health department's inspections, so I don't know, but the shopping carts doesn't appear that, my real concern is sanitation. I mean, we don't want any of our high school students getting sick because of that. Second thing I want to address about is contracts. The last council meeting that I attended, Councilwoman Sanderson welcomed any bids for our trash service. I thought that would be very challenging for any established trash company to submit a bid to a city that has an evergreen contract. As I have stated before, an evergreen contract is an infinity contract. But I have done some research, and I have found a trash organization that we can reflect on. This trash company did not start up yesterday, and they have an ongoing operation. They recently engaged in a competitive bid in an attempt to obtain a neighboring city's trash collection. Now, if we get rid of our evergreen contract, we would be able to attract competing bids in about 10 years. If we don't eliminate evergreen, we will never have competitive bids. Now, Councilwoman Sanderson and Mayor Toohey, you both have business experience. I believe, Councilwoman Sanderson, you and your husband have some type of construction rental business. But being in business for yourselves, would you accept a evergreen contract from any of your suppliers for 10 years? back to the bidding process. That trash company bid, which was $16 for our neighboring city and some change. In that city I was speaking about, currently they get $19. However, they went out for a competitive bid process and $16 came in. And it looks like they're going to retain that same trash hauler, which is consolidated. However, one of the competitors came in with $16 and change. And guess who that competitor is? Any guesses? I see some smiles. It's Athens. Now see, Athens made two bids. One bid for 16 and small change, and another one 16 and a little more change. But anyway, if they can bid on the city of Rosemead for $16, why are we paying $26 and change? One reason, because we have an evergreen contract. If we get out of the evergreen contract, then we can open it up to competitive bidding. If the city was in a position to go out and buy a pickup for some of the city services, for whatever, would the city just go down to any of the local dealerships and say, we need a pickup, send it over to us, and we'll send you a
Excuse me,
check?
Mr. Mayor, Speaker received their 5 minutes.
You can wrap up for us.
Or would we put out for a competitive bid? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Forrest. John Shoemaker and Bruce Leinbach on deck. John?
While people were talking about what may or may not be going in at Eastland, and we were continuously told there's no way we can find out, it dawned on me one thing. You know, when I replace my dishwasher, the city knows. Because I have to buy a permit if I put a new dishwasher. And I was at Sears a few years ago and I wanted to buy a new dishwasher. And at the end they said, oh, there's another $90. And I said, what's that for? City of West Covina demands that we get a permit from you. I said, well, are they going to come out and inspect? No, we just have to send them the $90. So the city had on record the date I bought a dishwasher. But the city has no way of knowing if there's a Walmart or some other store going in, that there's no way we can figure it out, there's no way we can find out. Amazing. And what's even more amazing, I said it last time too, was, you know, our website in the city brags about Jugs and Jiggers #2 liquor store that came, you know, they expanded. There's now 2 of them in our city. They talk about tobacco and more coming in. We have gone from being the corporate headquarters of some of the largest corporations in the world to bragging about Jugs and Jiggers #2 and tobacco and more coming in. What has happened to West Covina? When you have to look at things like that and say we're there. There's signs floating around saying that certain people on this council are friends and strongly support police and fire. Folks, if I had friends like that, I'd start looking around for new friends. Because as one person said, we had authorized strength of 128 officers at one time. We're down to 90. I'm glad they support you. If they didn't support you, where do you think we would be? If that's support, no thank you. We'd do a lot better without it. You know, and don't worry, this all isn't over, because they'll probably be doing something. They'll probably be sending out another mass mailer to distort the to misinform the public, make phone calls, whatever the case may be, because it's something really simple. They can't justify their record. I asked a simple question. Looking at the financial statements, we have spent somewhere between $6 and $9 million, or we owe, in developer payables. And I sat down and said, you know how much money it takes to recoup that $9 million, $6 million in property taxes, in sales tax? Over 30 years, in order to get all that back, it would take
whatever came in that they gave that to, increasing our tax base, something like $60 or $70 million. And that's assuming no interest on that. You know, I've had one council member say that there's been no financial mismanagement in the city. Being a CPA, MBA, CMA, CFO of corporations, I went back and said, I don't understand something. We have $30 million in the bank, according to one member of our council, and we're getting 0.5% interest. But we borrowed something like $10 million at 7% interest. Now, if we were getting 7% and borrowing at 0.5%, I would go, that's financial management. Getting 0.5% and borrowing at 7%, that's called financial mismanagement. But see, when you've spent your entire career working for Southern California Edison and they do something wrong, they go to the PUC and say, let's raise everybody's rates. You don't think like the average person on the street does. So when they come out and tell you how much they're for you, please run and hide. Because if they're for you as much as they are our police and fire, you're going to be 2/3 your size once again. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We have Bruce Leinbach as the next speaker, and Frank Williams, the last speaker on deck.
Yeah, Bruce Leinbach, longtime resident. I want to congratulate Rob Sotelo for his selection to the City Council. Wish you well. I've known you for many years. Your son, Rob, my son, Brian, graduated in the class of 1996, right, Rob? And his son was the quarterback of the West Covina Bulldogs. And I think he pitched on the team, too. So he's a pretty good quarterback. What, chip off the old block? So, but I want to give you congratulations. Also, I'll make another important announcement that I'm real proud of. I'm a father of 3 sons, aged 31, 34, and 36. And recently I struck gold. I became, for the first time, a grandfather. So I even have cigars to pass out.
Did you
want
get
one,
those
shall
that
I?
tobacco and more?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Basically, what I'm up here to discuss is this budget. I'm completely confused. And I want to focus on one aspect of it. And I'm talking about the $30 million in reserves, according to what we have. I guess $6 million of that is cash. The rest of that is reserves. The city loaned around $22 million, as far as I can understand, to the redevelopment agency. One flyer I received recently in the mail states that we have $29 or $30 million in reserves. We have a balanced budget. And it confuses me. Also, in relation to this reserves, excluding the cash, which is about $22 million, the state of California has put first right of refusal. In other words, there is a high probability that we may not get any and may disappear into the coffers of Sacramento. And so here we are talking about this $30 million, and here we are, it's a flip of a coin, whether we're going to get it or not. And also I'm confused about another thing. Just say, for instance, they decide, well, we'll let you have the money back that you loaned to the redevelopment agency. And what I'm confused is, what are these reserves? Are they liquid? Is it cash, or was it cash, or is it just like many cities make these loans to the redevelopment agencies, and a redevelopment agency loans it to other projects they have. And basically, to get that back money is incumbent how solid that project, and you don't know when you're getting. Somebody told me we had money we lend to somebody back in the 80s that's still in the reserves. So I'm confounded, dumbfounded, and I don't understand about these funds. And I think that we gotta, I don't know, it's almost what you call fuzzy math, but I just remember back in 2008, all these Wall Street firms were going to banks. I remember going back to my hometown bank back in Iowa and says, we got these 100% AAA loans guaranteed, great investment. You know what happened. We've had a big crash because it was phony. So I just want to know, what are these reserves? What happens if we do get the money back? What's the probability that we will use those reserves for our general budget funds? Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Frank Williams, the last speaker. Frank?
Good evening, Mayor and the City Council. My name is Frank Williams, and I've been a longtime resident. I have a big family, father of 4 boys and 1 girl. And I want to thank the Fire and Police Department for giving me this T-shirt. I've been a longtime supporter of the fire. We also had a family. My youngest just turned 19, so I'm kind of getting older as time flies when you're having fun. Oh, I did want to mention I might go just a little bit over, so just to kind of, talk about things.
You got to keep it as best as you can to 5.
No problem, you got it. The first reason why I came up here is because I wanted to say, before I forget, congratulations to Council Member Fred Sykes. This is the first time I've had a chance to come and talk to you on this side of the fence. And also, congratulations, Mr. Sotelo. It's a well-deserved seat for all your years of faithful service to this city. Starting with the first reason why I came up here was talk about our volunteers. I'm a football volunteer. I like to coach football. I coach with the West Covina Bruins. Been with that program for many years. All of my boys went through that program. And, we talk about this is a wonderful event. Matter of fact, this is so beautiful. It's our city. This is where our kids play. They practice at Shadow Oak. It's awesome seeing this stuff. But I put a flyer out because right now we're having challenges, getting our kids out there to volunteer or to come out and participate. I'm trying to find I always talk about finding big 6th and 7th graders for my midget division. That's who I coach. So if anybody sees some kids that needs to get off the sofa, please have them call Coach Williams. I put a flyer out. You'll see him passing around in these little areas. I hang around the baseball fields and the basketball fields, and I put on here that we're dedicated to prepare your player to get in shape, for fun, for discipline, of course for grades, and for the love of the game. We do have a requirement of a 2.0 grade point average that we held them pretty strict, so that's why I try to talk to them ahead of time, so that way we can help them as they finish out the year so they can do that. The hundreds of all the hours that all the volunteers put in this city, not just for football, for baseball, for all the different events that goes on, the outstanding young lady that was out here representing the youth council. I know one of my boys had a chance to participate on that. That was a lot of fun for him. He's now a junior and UC Irvine, so I'm very proud of him. And I have a graduate at University of Laverne and another boy in freshman at UTI out in Rancho Cucamonga. But let's talk about our firefighters, our football, our police force, our budget. I know times are tough right now. I mean, I know in our industry, over the last 5 years, we've seen industries implode and completely go away overnight. I know the company that I was working with for almost 9 years vanished in the small time of about 60 days. So being proud of our city and seeing all the things that are going on and in my business in real estate and funding and lending and things that I see, I do see vast waistlines of empty commercial buildings, empty apartment buildings, empty strip malls. And I know that there's a lot of things going on, and one of the things that I'm most proud of is that I'm one of the few registered and actual voters of our city. I know there's a very small percentage that actually do exercise their right to vote, and I do that. So I always tell my kids, I said, if you vote, you can complain. So I come here to complain. I come here to ask, how much worse off would we be if we didn't have zero reserves, like a lot of cities that are contemplating bankruptcy, a lot of cities that are contemplating removing complete services? And over the last 5 years, how would we be if we didn't have small businesses like Westfield and all the other small businesses that they furnish outlets for? I think there's a lot of things that we need to see, because over the last 10 years, we as citizens have a right to vote. We do have term limits. We vote at every election, and we exercise that right. And I think it's very important that our city is built on all the hard work that all of us put together. And I applaud you to make those tough decisions.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, speakers see their 5 minutes.
You need to finish up this
No
like I
problem.
gave 4
And that's
slogans.
why I just wanted to come up and say that I think it's very important that we stay focused, make those decisions that we need to do so we can do. And then my last thing is go Bruins. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is all the speakers for today. Does council or the staff want to address some of those questions, and then I'll get to the...
I think there's a couple of questions that have been raised relative to the city's budget and the debt. I mean, there was a comment made about $600 million in debt. I would just refer the public to the city's website that addresses our city's annual financial report, because that addresses a report that's prepared by finance and audited through independent auditors on the financial condition of the city. It addresses both the debt as well as the fund balances, and I would suggest that the public look at that report, because again, it is signed and by independent auditors that we're required to transmit our financial condition. And so that is on our website. And I think that addresses at least 2 of the questions. As far as the shopping carts, we'll go ahead and have staff look at that issue and see if what codes are being violated by that.
No problem.
I just wanted to ask
Councilmember
Andy, I know you've said it before, but over the last 10 years, there's a number that the state's basically taken from the city of West Covina. What is that number?
It's around $40 million that have been taken through different actions by the state. Most recently, the state has held on to and withheld from the city vehicle license fees. I believe it's around $250,000, roughly around that number, that they have just adopted legislation and said we're not going to pay you that any longer. And they're trying to tap into other sources of money from the city to deal with their own financial problems. And so year after year continues to be a recurring problem. As we submit the budgets to the council, we have informed you in the past that that may change again, because there always seems to be another bill that's being passed or considered in the legislature that takes away another pot of money.
I just wanted to finish with a comment on that. Mr. Shoemaker got up here and says financial mismanagement, things like that. These are professionals up here. They wouldn't allow this council to financially mismanage the funds in this city. So much of what we see in government today is away from local government. It's take away from the local because they can. The state of California, when they eliminated the redevelopment agencies in the city, tried to take everything. They still are trying to take everything. We're fighting tooth and nail to keep our $29.6 million reserve. They realized they made a mistake on some of their legislation that they adopted, and they came back with cleanup legislation, which has passed the House and should pass the Senate. Basically, the Assembly passed the Assembly and should pass the Senate, basically allowing us to keep the loan that our tax dollars, yours and mine, went to pay to the redevelopment agency, which in turn we did projects in the city and we did things that brought in new revenue, and that's why West Covina is the only city over 80,000 in population with our own city fire and police department that doesn't have a utility tax or a public assessment. So we do manage our funds wisely. In the last, last 3 years, we've lost 100 employees in this city. And are we proud of that? No. I'd love to have 100 employees here, but the reality is that the economy didn't support any type of assessment. People weren't going to vote for any type of an increase in fees. The state took away the redevelopment tool we had to generate revenue. And so we sit with a $29.6 million reserve. How long that's going to last? I hope it lasts a long time. But in reality, yeah, we have used some of the reserves to balance our budget. But the reason why we've done that is because we didn't want to lay off more people. We wanted our services to maintain the same for all the residents. So it's a challenge. it's easy to come up here and say stuff and to make accusations and, criticize the employer I work for or whatever. And, those are all sound bites. But in reality, when you get down to it, if you're living at home here in the city of West Covina, are you happy with the services that are provided to you? I happen to believe in our city West Covina Fire Department, our city West Covina Police Department. I will not live in this city if we go county. I do not support that. And I support the men and women of this department being paid a good wage, being treated professionally, and that's been my motto since I've been on the council. I think every one of us here is number one is public safety. We're in negotiations. That's no secret right now. I hope that we come to an agreement. I think that we will. I think that everybody knows that there's been a recession, that there's been tough times, and our employees understand where the city's at, and we, I hope, can work together. I do have hard feelings towards the recall only because it's dividing the city. I wish we didn't have it. I look at the reasons behind it sometimes, and I think, I just don't know how we got to this point. I don't understand the logic behind the petition that was filed to say that we attempted to sell Shadow Oak Park, which we didn't. The logic to say we sold Shakespeare Park, that was 14 years ago. That we sold the water company, which was a totally different council with Ben Wong and Kathy Howard on it. That was 13 years ago. So those are, and I was on it, and I did vote to sell it because that's what the voters of the city voted to do. They wanted to sell the water company to get cheaper rates. So anyway, there's a lot of misstated facts out there, and the real challenge of this is how is West Covina going to come out after this? And I hope that the residents understand that we've got a great city and there's no need to tear it apart. Let's move forward. So with that.
Thank you, Councilmember Sykes.
Thank you, Mayor Tui. Yes, there's obviously some confusion going on. We have in writing that we have $29 million in reserve, and then also a great concern to the residents is a shortage of police. So I would like to clear up these two situations. I'd like to have on the agenda, the next agenda, that $29 million, can we take $10 million and bring our police officers back up to staff? So I think this would help all of us, including the appointed and my newly being elected, try to get things clear, because there are definitely some confusing thoughts out here on this $29 million that's supposed to be reserved. Let's get to the bottom of it in black and white. Thank you.
Are you going to make comments, or if not? I'm not going to go. I'm going last. Are you making comments?
I will make comments. Thank
Mayor Pro Tem Sanderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, and thank you everyone for being here tonight. I think there is a lot of issues going on just globally for everyone, and I appreciate the police and fire being here and wanting to get involved in their community, because that is important to us. I think over the course of the years, we've had a decrease in our tax base, which I don't think is a secret to anybody. Property tax, sales tax. We've had, as the city manager stated, $30 to $40 million in state takeaways. You look at a couple of our auto malls right now, our largest tax generator for our community to pay our bills is our auto dealerships, and one is clearly having problems. We need to fix some of those things. It's like we have costs going up with PERS and whatnot, as everyone is aware of that as well. And you have costs going up and income going down. And that becomes a problem for the community, for the council, for the staff, and for the police department. And like I've said in the past, that I hope that we can work as a team, as a family, to come together, to come up with solutions so that we can move forward, to generate more tax dollars, and to provide savings. It's difficult to sit up here, too, because you've got one side, you've got residents saying, I want a balanced budget without using reserves. And then you have residents saying, I want our police and fire. We do not have a special tax like the city of Covina to pay for those services. So I'm here with an open door to listen to what people want to do, what the police and fire want us to do. I think that's kind of where we're at. Obviously, negotiations are going on. Again, there was mention of a recall. All I'm asking residents to do, I do have a website. I created a website, and it does have links to different PDF files, third-party information, to where you can go on that website. It's westcovinarecalltruth.com and decide for yourself what you choose to do. That's all I'm asking, and that we do need to work together, and I appreciate my colleagues' ideas. There was a couple comments I have mentioned as well as about the trash disposal. I would be more than glad to meet with the resident and with the city manager's office. Maybe we could set something up if the resident is interested so that we can go over those items. Thank you.
Just to address some of the comments, and that's an intriguing proposal, Fred, since most of the audience have spoken comments that we shouldn't have a deficit. It's nice to say we should hire X number of officers, but and this is where I think everyone needs to learn that you can hire a whole bunch of more officers, you still got to pay them the following years. I know it sounds great and they can clap that, oh, all right, we hired 30 or 20 officers for 1 year. Then you just lay them all off, but you also deficit spent. So I'm confused based on the comments coming from the public when 38 officers is approximately $8 million, and it doesn't go away, and it could be more than that. That's on average of $195,000 an officer, and that's fully weighted, so I want to make sure I understand. They don't get paid $190 whatever. It's fully weighted with benefits and everything else, and it may be slightly higher than that. It's easy to say that. It's a lot harder to actually, where the rubber meets the road financially. That won't work, but if you want to spend all the money, we can have that, and then we can hire 30 more people and then lay them off the following year, and you can address their families as you lay them all off. The money was talking about the interest rates we get. What John was talking about doing where we could borrow money then loan it out at higher rate, that's arbitrage. It's against the law. But I know having a CPA, GPA, OPA, whatever PA, but government can't do arbitrage. Okay? I'm just saying that there is a difference. We're not allowed to do that. He said something about playing the different in interest, and we can't do that. The 1990, I want to emphasize, he brought up the 1990 loan when we expanded our project area. No one was on the council when that project area was expanded, and that's where the county took half of their money, and they were going to get paid the other half 20 years later. That is what has come due, okay? But it was done in 1990, okay? The money you keep on hearing about, the $21.5 million, has been loaned to the redevelopment agency over the last 41 years. Okay? Now, it's easy to say it has happened. For 41 years, it was loaned. We have all those agreements. We're going to be going over them on Thursday at 4 p.m. with the County of Los Angeles. And there is, no question, a lot of questions when they talk about the money. AB 1585 is the bill that actually deals with the city loans. It has passed the House. I believe it was 59-7. I forgot the exact vote, or I'd say the House, that's not correct. The Assembly, and it's go on to the Senate. The thing that will have another financial effect on us, you can no longer charge the interest rate whatever you choose to, which is going to affect the county and the city. We charge the redevelopment agency through a contract 10% interest. If this law, and we get our money guaranteed, goes forward, we get to charge 0.4% interest. That by itself is a $1.7 million hit, and if you roughly use 88% of all our money goes to public safety, and again, the figures won't lie. People can make comments. The figures won't lie. $1,500,000 is additional cuts we have to make, or we have to spend more money out of our reserves, and that's just losing that one portion. They've already taken $1.8 million when they ended redevelopment agencies from us. So overall, it has a potential effect of $3.3 million. Around 88%, because of the layoffs we've done and cuts, around 88% of all of our money goes to public safety. Only 100% can be given to you. Okay, you still need someone to write the checks for you. You just need someone to fix the cars. They can't be 100% of all the money. As Andy has said before, our city manager, if we laid off everybody that works here, non-public safety, we cannot meet our budget constraints, much less if we hire, as proposed, and it sounds great, I know it sounds great for the news, hire 38 more officers, or whatever, $10 million is what he correctly said. You still got to pay them each and every year and forever. It's not a thing, because you need to figure out where the $10 million is coming from next year, the year after next, the year after next. It's really a $300 million proposal, because you guys still want to receive your retirement and all your benefits. So again, it's great for 1 year to do it. If you're talking about a temporary plan where we're going to hire some people, then throw them all out, I won't be supportive of that. If you can find your money, one of our people that we have been suing is what's causing some of the problems in our auto mall, and some of his attorneys are here today, and I'm pretty sure I'll get another lawsuit filed against me. But we're owed approximately $14 million from Ziad Al-Hassan and his entities. What the public needs to be working on is asking Ziad and his friends that have supported a lot of people, some people that are here in this audience, and some people he's very supportive of that are now in the State Assembly, to pay the taxpayers back their money. And I know this is very controversial. He has not paid property tax for years, okay? But he has that right to legally to go through the process. Yeah, I believe he's close to 5 years in arrears. Everyone else has paid, he has not. Okay, he got a tremendous amount of assistance from the city of West Covina over the years. We're holding his feet to the fire, and obviously it's cheaper to remove us than to have his feet held to the fire and pay the city his money. So I believe there is a lot of interesting things involved. There is $14 million, I want to emphasize, in judgments where a court has ruled in our favor that he owes the money. Okay, and there's many other things that I cannot get into because they are very litigious on some of those other things. But I believe when Secretary of Labor Hilda Solis finally finds out what has been done to a person that's always been a big supporter of hers and to the workers of his company, I think all hell's going to hit the fan. When the truth finally comes out, when all these things are wrapped up. The taxpayers of West Covina are owed $14 million, and I'd rather pledge, and you can talk to Ziad about him paying his bill and let the taxpayers get back their money that he's owed, and we've won in court for that. He's cheated the taxpayers of West Covina. So ask all of his entities and all those billion-dollar companies he represents. He represents the guy from Abu Dhabi. Okay, he's one of the richest men in the world. But he's suing him also. Him and his family are suing him now. That's what's caused some of the financial problems for torture on one of his brothers 15 or 20 years ago. They're all public record. You can look for yourself. Ziad needs to pay his bill, the money that's owed to these taxpayers of West Covina, which are all you people. And it's a lot of money. We're holding his feet to the fire. And it is very difficult as you go through this. We've been all sued personally. Back dealing with it all of it was thrown out of court. He sued my mother and said that we got our home in 1955, 7 years before I was born, illegally. It was some type of payoff that eventually she was going to have a son. He was going to be on the city council. It's asinine, the stuff he went through. He sued 101 people that were associated with me, whether they were my brothers, friends. Everyone had to produce things that there's no connection besides maybe being related that he tried to imply. And that's how people eventually will tear down cities. You just sue, sue, sue. We brought up the lawsuit on the thing. I know that people don't understand. Since the lawsuit has been filed, I want to emphasize, even if there's a settlement done, I don't think the public understands there is an agreement with the property, the CGM. She will just replace you guys. You can't just end her contract. Okay, number one. Number two, the deficiencies they sued under for the injunction, so the public understands, is for a deficiency in our general plan and a deficiency in our housing element plan. Okay? We have to now, no matter what, once you ring that bell, you can't unring it and say set aside the lawsuit. We're spending, and we're going to have to spend by court order close to, and it's in our budget, $850,000 for the general plan update and $100,000 to $150,000 for the employees to do that. That's $1 million. This is on doing the general plan that cannot be undone. We're spending that money. Okay? With the housing element change. Housing element has changed. Housing element now, since it's changed the rules, we're going to have to allow homeless shelters in our city by right. Totally different, and I know it's state law. Someone keeps on shouting over here. It's still, we've been trying to hold off as the economy recovers. We're spending the dollars today, okay? Plus whatever the lawsuit cost us. These are actual things that are going on. They will cost us. So you can add $1 million here, $1.7 million cut there. It adds up to deep problems, and then someone else just wants to propose spending $10 million. Again, it just doesn't work like that, because on top of the to hire that many officers, you need also corresponding calls, police cars or fire units, whatever. You just can't have a whole bunch of more people here and nothing to do. You need the cars and everything up to date to survive that type of thing. We can argue all the numbers, and I'll tell you, I always joke with Shoemaker, I'll debate you financially anytime also. I understand I may not have all the degrees. I understand you far more, degrees than I have. I understand that. I've been in business for 35 years, and I'm still employed. So I just want to emphasize the word still employed. We do have real problems here, and I'm telling you, we're trying to get development here, and you heard the other comment. Not only they want to know what your plan is when businesses are potentially looking at the city, then they want us to kill those businesses also. Again, you can't have it on both sides. If a new department store wants to come in here and it generates $800,000 to $1 million, it's because it may not be what someone likes. We're supposed to kill it. That affects you directly, so they can say they support you, as long as they're not planning on paying you with bad checks. We need to get the businesses in here that will generate money to pay the bills. And we can lie to you and say the great things you want to hear. I'm telling you, financially, there are challenges here, and we need to get businesses here. We need to get an auto dealer operating there. He has 4 of our dealers currently there, and I can't disclose. I don't know the exact numbers. I'm not allowed to know by law, but they're generating no cars. You'll see them up there. We have police cars and detective cars on the car lots over there. He has approximately 23 cars total on 4 dealerships. Okay? And those dealerships used to do significant millions of dollars, which we're not getting. He owes us millions of dollars. So once we can get him to pay and get him the hell out of our auto mall, we're going to be we're going to have a chance to recover. But I challenge you, Fred, ask Ziad, write a check. I know he has the money. Councilmember Sykes.
Thank you, Mayor Tui. I don't know where you get the idea that I can just go and talk to Mr. Ziad. Because if you look at my campaign, I would have talked to him if I could just talk to him. Okay, that's real, and that's what I want to get back to with what I asked for with that request for the $10 million. It's about getting to the bottom of the facts. We need to get down to the facts. And another thing, where do we buy our vehicles? Are we buying our vehicles from our dealerships, or are we buying from someplace in Alhambra or whatever? So, we need to put all that stuff back to where we need to be, right here, home. Okay, and so yes, we need to do everything we can to keep the money here instead of sending it to someplace else, and every penny helps. So I'm just trying to get to the facts in every way. Thank you.
Fred, with all due respect, we just bought 13 new Ford cars, okay? When the car lot in our city has brand-new 2004 cars. We decided not to buy 2004 8-year-old cars that are brand new. There's also 200 other cars approximately down in a storage unit down below there, which are anywhere from 2002 to 2005 brand new cars. We're not interested in buying an 8-year-old car from a person. Number one, he's been dropped from other bidders because he didn't live up to his agreement on the deal, and he was dropped from bid for La Puente on some issues with cars. But the bottom line, Fred, is I don't know how you can go buy a car from a person. You know, you can try to buy milk from a grocery store that has no milk on its shelf and say, well, we should spend the money here, but if they don't have any of the inventory or product, that's this. Again, maybe I've been in business too many times together, but we did buy on a county bid, which we normally use previous bids. A lot of governmental agencies will go out to bid, and they've already did all the work and got the bid, and we know that's the lowest bid. And we buy into that bid and buy through that bid. Now, we did buy from Wondries Ford in Alhambra, absolutely. Okay? We normally also give the difference that we receive, so you understand. The 1% we give that advantage to businesses in our city, and that's the portion that's equal. That's the portion we get. Again, we didn't want 2004 cars, and we still do give a preference to bidders in our city for the difference we receive, which is 1%, Fred. And again, maybe the police department's here. If you guys want to buy brand new 2004 cars, we can line them up. He has a whole bunch to sell us, and he tried to trade us before them. And actually, and this is public record, the 2004 cars were actually, he was trying to sell us for more money than we could buy a brand new car for. But again, if we can do that, if that's what you want to do to help out your buddy, we'll do that. Councilmember Sykes.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I got a 1995, a bunch of them, you know them. And if I could buy a brand new 1995, I would do it. I would do it. Because it takes care of me, it gets me here. So that stuff, if the car is new, is new. And it worked just fine. So that thing of why you don't want to buy a new car. A new car is a new car. You know, it doesn't have the miles on it. It's a new car, so it should work. Simple. Thank you.
Obviously, you don't buy a lot of cars because a car sitting for 8 years with oil in it, just like any other thing you sit and you can act like it's okay to buy it. Fred, that's embarrassing to even say that. It is not the same. And I think for you to buy a car which is not worth, again, he's trying to get more money than the current contract is out for the County of Los Angeles. If you want to pay more for an older car, and we have it in writing when we were negotiating with him, where he wanted more money than you could buy a brand new car for currently, you may think that's okay. Obviously, you and I disagree quite a bit, and that may be okay for you. Councilmember, or Mayor Pro Tem Sanderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a real quick question for clarification. There was mention made for a Mother May I item that would come up from Councilmember Sykes. I was wondering if we could get some clarity for a long-term proposal for the $10 million and a retirement plan. I don't know how that would work, but if we could, I would be interested in that I guess is my biggest concern, is the long-term proposal and what would happen with the retirement. Thanks.
And also, if you can add, if that's coming out of the reserves, I assume. Is that deficit or not?
Well, obviously, we're going to have to address sustainability because that's the biggest issue that we have right now is how do you sustain a budget with the cost you have, and so that's always been our issue.
No problem. We drop down to the consent calendar. Is there any items anyone wishing to pull off the consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Hold on 1 second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Passes 5-0. Drop down to public hearing number 8. This matter is set for public hearing as a consideration of the proposed fiscal year 2012-2013 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan. Will the city clerk verify that proper legal notice has been given?
Yes, that's verified.
At this time, I shall open the public hearing for the proposed fiscal year 2012-2013 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan. There will first be the presentation of the staff report, then we shall hear comments from the public. Mr. Pasmont, who will present the staff report?
Yes, this will be Mr. McDonald.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. The matter before you is the 2012-2013 CDBG Action Plan. Because the city receives an annual grant of CDBG funds from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, the city is required to prepare an annual action plan which details how the grant funds will be spent. This is the second of two required public hearings to approve an action plan. The first was held on March 6th. At that hearing, the City Council authorized staff to produce a draft 1213 action plan to be consistent with the approved 2010-2015 consolidated plan priorities and to incorporate a continuation of current city programs. The draft action plan and approved consolidated plan priorities are included in this report as attachments number 1 and 2, respectively. Notice for this hearing was published on March 20th, and the draft plan was available for a 30-day public review period as required by HUD. No public comments were received. The proposed 1213 action plan budget is detailed in the report. The grant to the city is approximately $194,000 or 18% less than that of the current year. Bears mentioning that this is the second consecutive year of double-digit reductions. And while unanticipated, the proposed budgets may be adjusted within administrative authority on a percentage basis to account for any change in funding. More significant changes may require amending the plan. Staff recommends that the City Council approve the proposed 2012-2013 CDBG action plan as detailed in Attachment 1. And that concludes my report.
Mr. Mayor, one more issue I want to reemphasize the importance of the fact that we have had reductions also in these federal block grants, and that's likely to impact specifically on the public service areas where you have a number of groups that we support for nonprofit services, and so now the pot will be reduced, so it's going to make determining those particular budgets for grants is going to be a lot tighter also for them, as well as for the city.
And this is a reduction from the allocation from the federal government?
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay, Kelly McDonald will first, well, you already did. Sorry. Any questions of staff by council members? Is there anyone present who wishes to comment on this item? I have no cards. I shall now close the public comment portion of this hearing and ask for council discussion or a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I second it.
Moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? 5-0. Drop down to the, and you want to speak on, well, Joanne's coming back. She wants to speak on item 10, correct?
Yes, she does.
Okay, no problem. Not right now, it's item 9. I just want to double check. Public hearing, this matter set for public hearing is a consideration for the proposed amendments to the fiscal year 2011-2012 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan. Will the city clerk verify that proper legal notice has been given?
That's verified.
At this time, I shall open the public hearing for the proposed amendments to the fiscal year 2011-2012 Community Development Action Plan. There will first be the presentation of the staff report, then we shall hear comments from the public. Mr. Pasmont, who will present the staff report?
My report will be prepared or presented by Mr. McDonald.
Kelly, you're back up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report concerns proposed amendments to the fiscal year 2011-2012 CDBG Action Plan. The 11-12 plan was approved by the City Council on May 3rd. 2011, however, an action plan may be amended at any time. At a public hearing on January 17th, 2012, the City Council approved 2 amendments to the 11-12 action plan. The first to increase funding for the Palmview Park Play and Fitness Equipment Project, and 2 to allocate funding for a splash pad at Del Norte Park. Both of these projects were awarded subsequent to the January meeting. The purpose of the proposed amendments is to modify funding as detailed in the report to accommodate the updated project costs. The process for such amendments require a 30-day public comment period, a public hearing, and approval by the City Council. The comment period began on March 30th, 2012. No comments were received. There is sufficient CDBG funding to cover the cost of the proposed amendments, and there's no general fund impact resulting from the report. Therefore, staff recommends that the City Council approve the proposed amendments to the 2011-2012 CDBG action plan as detailed in the report and authorize appropriations necessary to implement the amendments. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Is there any questions to staff by City Council members? Seeing none, is there anyone present who wishes to comment on this item? I have no speaker cards. I shall now close the public comment portion of the hearing and ask for council discussion. Is there any council discussion, or do I have a motion?
Motion to introduce. Motion to introduce.
I second the motion.
Motion to approve, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? It goes 401. Drop down to item number 10.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I will be excusing myself at this time due to this item being in proximity to my property.
No problem.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
On this item, I believe Councilmember Sotelo was a planning commissioner at the time this item came before the planning commission. So Mr. Sotelo, Councilmember Sotelo will not be participating, and we've also suggested that. Oh, I'm sorry. I got this confused. I'm confused with the next item. So.
This item he's okay on? Item
He's
10?
okay on this one.
I thought it's the item he has the issue on.
Not on this item. It's on item number 11.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure, because we weren't going to have a quorum until Steve gets back, but we do. Okay. This matter set for public hearing consists of amendment to Chapter 26 of the West Covina Municipal Code relating to revising separation standards for animal keeping standards for guest homes and establishing standards for an animal keeping overlay zone and a zone change, adding the animal keeping overlay zone to the existing zone of the subject property, single-family residence, R1 zone, area District 3. Will the city clerk verify that proper legal notice has been given?
Yes, that's verified.
Okay, at this time, I shall open the public hearing on Code Amendment 11-06 and zone change number 11-03. There will first be the presentation of the staff report, then we shall hear from those in favor of the proposals, then those opposed. Finally, those in favor will have an opportunity to give rebuttal to any testimony received in opposition. Mr. Pasmont, who will present the staff report?
Mr. Anderson will present that report.
And Jeff?
Thank you. The aerial behind me indicates the 10 properties that are under consideration to be included in the proposed overlay zone. These properties were all created as part of the same tract map. The properties are all divided into an upper and lower pad area, and the lots are contiguous. And just for sake of clarification, the reason we have this line here is sort of the dividing line between the area that's upper along the Vanderhoof elevation and the area that is lower, which is more aligned with the elevation of the park. The City Council initiated consideration of a code amendment and zone change for an animal keeping overlay zone on September 6, 2011. The initiation also included the adoption of a moratorium on the construction of improvements in the rear lower portions of the subject properties. The moratorium is currently in effect till September 6, 2012. The Planning Commission held study sessions on October 11, 2011, January 24, 2012, and February 28, 2012. Affected property owners were invited to provide input into the process. The Commission reviewed multiple approaches to adding regulations to protect animal keeping areas. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on March 27, 2012, at which time they voted 5-0 to recommend approval of the proposed code amendment and zone change to the City Council. The draft code amendment includes the following: the modification of the municipal code requirement for the separation of animal keeping areas from habitable space, swimming pools, and spas. The current code requires a 35-foot separation between animal keeping areas and residential structures, swimming pools, and spas on the same property, and a 50-foot separation on neighboring properties. LA County Public Health standards require a 35-foot separation between animal keeping areas and residential structures. The draft code amendment would amend the code to require a 35-foot separation between habitable space, swimming pools and spas, and animal keeping areas in all circumstances, whether it's on the property or whether it's on the neighboring property. The code amendment also allows all nonconforming situations to continue. These changes would be citywide. Number 2, the modification of the municipal code to add requirements onto a guest house covenant to allow an annual inspection by city staff and to provide for cost recovery of code enforcement efforts if that guest house has been illegally modified. These changes would also be citywide. The code amendment would create a new section in the municipal code that establishes an animal keeping overlay zone. And that overlay zone would include information with the purpose statement, the definitions, and some permitted use lists. The 10 properties on the north side of Vanderhoof that were shown on the aerial at the beginning would be included in that overlay zone. The code amendment would require approval of an administrative use permit for habitable structures, non-habitable structures requiring a building permit, swimming pools, spas, and sports courts, and uses similar to sports courts that are located in the lower pad area of the subject properties. An administrative use permit is reviewed by staff with appeals possible to the Planning Commission. Notification would also have to be amended in the code, and it would require that all properties in the overlay zone be noticed as part of the administrative use permit, and any abutting properties that share a property line with the property requesting the improvement. Code amendment also establishes lower pad area development standards to be considered by the planning director in the review of an administrative use permit for an improvement. These include things such as setbacks, separation, structural design, and screening. The zone change would add the animal keeping overlay zone to the 10 subject properties. The overlay zone would only affect some improvements in the rear lower pad areas of the lots. The properties would continue to be zoned R1, Area District 3. The development standards in the R1 Area District 3 code would continue to be the regulations affecting the upper pad areas where the houses are constructed, as well as the slope area that divides the upper and the lower pad area. Planning Commission staff are recommending approval of the code amendment and zone change. If the City Council decides to approve the code amendment and zone change tonight, staff will bring back a repeal of the moratorium document at the time of the second reading so that the code amendment and repeal of moratorium would take effect concurrently. That concludes staff's presentation.
Does anyone have questions of staff?
Not right now.
One question, Jeff. Since this is citywide, the inspection on guest houses are now going to be citywide. Did we notify anyone who may have a guest house for the agenda tonight that their rules were being changed, or only the people that were in this particular area in this district area 3?
We only notified the people in this district because the notification is required part of the zone change. The code amendment is required to be published in the paper, but it doesn't require direct mailings. But the change would only affect it would be a change to be placed on new covenants. So it wouldn't go back and necessarily affect people that have existing covenants. Those covenants have already been recorded or in place. Any new covenants that have been recorded, those would be when these standards would take effect.
Not all code enforcement actions are that way. They're normally universal across all properties. They don't say one's legal nonconforming. That isn't how code enforcement normally works. You either have to have your trash cans behind the walls or not. It's not where you get, well, if your home was built then, you don't have to. So I've never seen this before used in our laws.
Well, we're not establishing a code enforcement process. We're establishing a process that would be placed on the covenant.
I understand that. But you're using the mechanism of code enforcement to deal with it and to punish them or make them pay for the inspection if they fail, correct?
Only if they fail. Only if they're shown to have illegally converted the structure.
I still have some questions there. Go ahead, Councilmember Sykes.
Thank you, Mayor Tui. Mr. Anderson, how long has Ridge Riders been at that location?
I'm not sure I can answer that question. You mean at the park location adjacent to these properties?
Yes.
I'm not aware. I know they've been there for some time, but I'm not aware of the length of time that they've been there.
My next question is, how long has Maverick Field been in existence?
I'm not aware of the answer to that question either. The city purchased that site about 10 years ago, and both of those uses were already in place at the time that the city purchased the site.
If you could, please, I'd like to get a definitive answer. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead,
Mr.
Ken.
Sykes, you know, when I was growing up, I played ball at Maverick Field, so that was in the 70s, and it was a ball field already, so it'd probably been there maybe 5 or 6 years, but I think Ridge Riders actually goes back to the 60s, so it's been there a while.
Yeah, they've celebrated their 50th anniversary plus a number of years ago.
For which one?
Ridge Riders.
Ridge Riders.
For Ridge Riders.
And Maverick Field was there, then it ceased to exist, it became a cow pasture, and then the Maverick Development Group reopened and redid Maverick Field.
So they've both been coexisting off and on for well over 50 years.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the appeal? I don't know when you're, these are always confused. Well, that's what it says here.
Yeah.
I'm reading number 11.
Yeah.
Hold on. Is there any wishes to speak in favor?
I think it might be in favor or neutral. So
Okay.
we'll go neutral first here. I found the ordinance proposed to be very confusing in my understanding of it, so I have a question regarding the item. Will any changes proposed prevent the owners of properties meeting lot size and zoning for having animals like horses from doing so? That's throughout the city. It was the country environment of West Covina that brought me to live here in 1956. We need to keep the potential for horse property usage in the city. If not, then the Ridge Rider Center is a use for a very, very exclusive number of residents and could be used for something else if we're not going to maintain horses in the property. So basically, I would say I'm for keeping horses down where the Ridge Rider area is, or whatever animals, housing up above, and keep the distance as required by law for the health and safety of individuals from activities that may go on the properties. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? I have no other cards. And she was neutral, so I don't know. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? I shall now close the public testimony portion of the hearing and ask for council discussion. Is there any council members that have any questions or discussion or motions?
I have a discussion.
Mr.
Anderson, I have a question with staff. When these residents came in front of the Planning Commission, wasn't their major concern that they just wanted to have the same rights as anybody else in West Covina? And when they wanted to keep the animal zone down there, they wanted to keep the horses in their properties, but they wanted to have the same right as anybody in West Covina to be able to have a little house in the back, a little flat, whatever, granny flat, whatever they call them. Isn't that what the most concern of the residents were when they came in front of you guys?
That was a large amount of the input that we had to not take away property rights, to allow sort of the same type of development, potential development there after this, whatever was done with the code. So yeah, yes.
Mr. Mayor, I might add to that. I think one of the concerns was that the current ordinance as it exists now had the potential to begin phasing out animals in the lower plateau area because the county codes and the city codes were inconsistent. So as the commission heard and as the commission voted on it, it was to kind of allow
the best of both worlds to maintain the animals as well as allowing residents to also do something further in the lower levels as well.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to allude to. I mean, there wasn't, the residents, all they wanted to do was they wanted to keep the horses, and they wanted to keep the rights for their property, and that's all staff did is regulate and overload a zone and rezone and reconfigure things for where they can work in conjunction with each other. So,
Any other comments? How does this play on the other residential horse properties we have? We have unique zonings throughout the city, and I will tell you, the second house in on the north side of Citrus and Cameron, it's a 1.5 acre lot. It is zoned for horses. Are they allowed to have horses based on this or not? There's a home on Vine Avenue just east of Holly Place that is zoned for horses, and all the properties across the street from West Covina High School on their titles are zoned for horses. How does that affect? Can they have horses there or not? Because most of these homes have not had horses for 15, 20 years.
It doesn't affect regulations on other properties. We're establishing an overlay zone on those 10 properties that were shown on the aerial. So those are the properties that require the administrative use permit and all the standards we talked about. It would not change at all the ability for another property somewhere else in the city to have horses, as long as they have the square footage. They'd be allowed to do it.
Are inconsistent codes, because ours were in conflict with county, would this still be the case on those other lots? They'd be inconsistent?
No, the standards for the administrative use permit, those would not be added to other properties except for those 10. The changes on all properties in the city the separation standards would change for all properties in the city. So they would be the same whether you're in the overlay zone or you're anywhere else in the city, the separation standards.
I appreciate saying that. That's why I asked earlier, have those people been notified their properties have been changed?
They were not notified, but their properties have not been changed greatly, and that's a code amendment, and it doesn't require notification. So
saying greatly when you're not the owner of the property is a very interesting concept to have.
I understand.
Because it changes if you're the one that this got limited. I'm just saying that's why I was asking you, is it this area only? You said it's an overlay zone. It's primarily dealing with this area, but it actually changed all the zoning outside of this area. Did you think we needed to notify those people that own properties that this had their standards somewhat changed, good, bad, or indifferent? It was still changed, and should they have been notified?
They're not required to be notified by law. Whether the Planning Commission or the Council chose to do that, the Planning Commission didn't request us to do that. The Council could request us to do that, although it would be a fairly difficult task of trying to figure out which properties have horses or are allowed to have horses. But you could direct us to do that, yes.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know whether it adds confusion, but would you want staff to explain the old code in terms of the 50-foot distance requirement for certain uses and how the county code differed?
Well, that's my concern, that they are in conflict, and that's why when I address some of the residents, I'm concerned with the inconsistency, even though we may be clearing up the ambiguity in the law in this area. I still think it could alter, it is altering other people's properties that had no idea tonight their property was being altered. And I'm just saying there are other properties out there that are unusual size lots that happen to still have the horse zoning on them, the A1 zoning on a lot of these that allow horses. And I'm intrigued to how someone may have not have that right anymore. That's similar concern I had originally for the people on Vanderhoof, that their rights may have been being changed and no one was telling them. Now we're taking care of the Vanderhoof, so at least everyone may know of it and everyone may understand it and may somewhat agree with it. But now another group of people are being altered and they have no idea. They're going to find out when they go to put in horses or something if they want to go back to being horse property. I'm just not sure how that gets addressed.
Well, I think it would be more restrictive under the current code than it is under the proposed code to bring animals back into some of those areas, only because the code was written where, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, that if you build a guest house or habitable structure, you cannot maintain animals within 50 feet of that structure. It isn't reversed. If you had animal facilities you can build a habitable structure within a normal setback of 3 foot or 5 foot or whatever our setback is here. So it only worked one way. It only worked against the animal maintaining properties. However, the county code creates a 35-foot distance requirement between either use, and that's what we were trying to make it more consistent. So it actually, I would believe it would make it a little more equal in terms of those distance requirements.
I'm concerned with notification. I think they should at least be notified or send a letter after that their thing's been changed. I don't think a lot of people even understand that, you know. Again, I don't think everyone understands where these horse properties are, because outside of Ridge Riders, they're hidden all over. And I mean, there's some unusual size lots as the way they're done all over town. So just a thought, no problem. Any other questions or comments or motions?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt.
I'll second. Mr. Mayor, my recommendation, there's actually two ordinances that are before you for introduction, so my recommendation would be to take both in order.
Okay, motion to introduce.
I take that to be introduce the ordinance to amend Chapter 26 as recommended by staff.
Correct.
We have a motion and a second. I will support the thing tonight, but I still want us to do some research and notify these people so they understand. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No, I'd rather for us to make notification to the whole city, so that all these folks that have property rights can come in and defend them and understand what's going on completely up front before we do the law.
Okay, and item number 10, this matter set for public hearing relates to an appeal of the decision by the Planning Commission to a...
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry.
Oh, there was another one? I'm sorry.
Motion to introduce or to approve the ordinance of the City Council of the City of West Covina approving zone change number 11-3.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Okay. Now we drop down to item number 11. Mr. Sotelo, Councilmember Sotelo.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I have to excuse myself from this. I voted on this as a planning commissioner.
No problem, and you must clear the room too. This matter set for public oh, I have to wait. I'm sorry. Don't want to have him arrested on his first day. Maybe a little bit. This matter set for public hearing relates to an appeal of the decision by the Planning Commission to approve precise plan number 12-01 for the construction of a 4,998 square foot bank building, and the appeal of approval of conditional use permit number 12-01 to operate a drive-through automated teller machine in conjunction with a bank at the Eastland Mall along Workman Avenue east of the former CVS store. Will the city clerk verify the proper legal notice has been given?
Yes, that's verified.
At this time, I shall open the public hearing on precise plan number 12-01 and conditional use permit number 12-01. There will first be the presentation of the staff report, and we shall hear from the appellant and those in favor of the appeal, then those opposed to the appeal. Finally, the appellant will have an opportunity to give rebuttal to any testimony received in opposition. Mr. Pasmont, who will present the staff report?
Mr. Anderson will do that report.
Jeff?
The applicant is John Healy of Westfield. The request is to allow the construction of a 4,988 square foot Chase Bank building in the Eastland Shopping Center. The proposal requires the approval of a precise plan for the site plan and architecture and the approval of a conditional use permit for the operation of a drive-through automated teller. The proposal was originally approved by the Planning Commission and was subsequently appealed to the City Council by the Office of Palomari, Tyler, Weiner, Wilhelm and Waldron's, representing 2539 Egan LLC and Eastland Tower Partnership. The site for the proposed bank is located in the northwest section of Eastland Shopping Center, adjacent to Workman Avenue. The site is located across the driveway from the former CVS Long's drugstore site. And that's this building here. This is the former Long's CVS. This is the former Mervyn's building. This is Workman, and this is the drive aisle that connects onto Workman. The proposed building is located in the corner of the parking lot. The drive-through ATM would be located on the westerly side of the building adjacent to the driveway. The construction would eliminate 71 parking spaces. However, based on the number of parking spaces in the shopping center and the current uses in the shopping center, Eastland will have a parking surplus of 230 parking spaces per municipal code requirements. The drive-through would be located on the southwest corner of the building. Let me point that out. It's going to be in this location here. There's a canopy that you can sort of see dashed in here. Vehicles would queue back this way. There is a bypass lane. If someone were to get in the line and decide they didn't want to go through the ATM, they can bypass it and go ahead and exit freely. This is the east elevation of the or the front of the building, which is location facing east. The proposed building is in accordance with Chase Bank's corporate architecture and includes a base of masonry with brick veneer and stucco on the exterior. A tower defines the entry and walk-up ATMs are included on that elevation. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on March 27, 2012. The Commission discussed the design of the building and the receipt of the letter in opposition that was submitted by the appellant. At the conclusion of the hearing, the Commission voted 4-0-1, with Commissioner Stewart abstaining, to approve the project. Staff is recommending the City Council adopt resolutions upholding the decision of the Planning Commission to approve Precise Plan Number 1201 and Conditional Use Permit Number 1201. We also received correspondence that the City Manager was mentioned earlier tonight. That letter tonight cited 4 issues of concern. Number 1, CEQA compliance. CEQA, the Environmental Quality Act, allows projects to be declared exempt based on specific categories. One of these categories, a Class 3 categorical exemption, allows commercial buildings not exceeding 10,000 square feet to be exempted. This building is 4,998, so it's appropriate to have it categorically exempted. Number 2, parking agreements. The parking agreement between the redevelopment agency and shopping center owner from 1977 allows the center the use of redevelopment agency-owned parcel for parking purposes at no cost. It does not specify the number of parking spaces required for the center, and the parcel in question is on the eastern side of the center, not anywhere close to this development. Number 3, impacts on traffic and parking. The applicant did complete a transportation study which concluded that there will be no significant traffic impacts. The staff report indicates that there will be a loss of 71 parking spaces. The center will continue to have a surplus of 230 spaces, and no variance is proposed for the project for parking for anything else. Number 4, there's a question about the findings. Staff is comfortable with the recommended findings. Staff believes that all the issues raised have been addressed. The applicant's attorney, Francis Park, is here tonight. He's of Park Vallejos, and they prepared a response to the appeal, which is included in your staff reports as Attachment 8. The response addresses each appeal point and concludes that there is no merit to the appeal. Supplemental findings were also prepared and are included in the attachment. The applicant has requested those to be part of the administrative record. That concludes staff's presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Does council have any questions of staff? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Sanderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a question in reference to the current Chase building over off of Citrus. Is that going to be relocating to this site? I didn't read that anywhere.
And I'm not aware, but we do have personnel from Chase that might be able to answer that question tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? We'll ask it at the time, John. Any other questions? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the appeal? Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of the appeal? Is this one of those reverse ones again?
Yes, it is a reverse one, yes.
Those are sometimes confusing.
Yes, they are.
Okay, seeing there's no one to speak in favor of the appeal, will drop down. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the appeal?
I'm John Healy with Westfield. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. First of all, I'd like to thank staff for their effort in bringing this project forward. As you know, Westfield has made a tremendous amount of investments in the city of West Covina. We hope to continue to do that. We don't believe that the issues that have been raised by the appellant do have merit. With me here tonight is Francis Park, who is our land use attorney, as well as Pat Gibson, who is our transportation consultant. If you do have questions, they can certainly answer those questions with respect to this project. We do certainly ask for your support, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Did you have the question of him now?
The Chase existing
The Chase,
building that is over off of Citrus.
I think
Would they be relocating?
Yeah, I think there is a representative here from Chase, and I think I would ask him to respond to that.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, members of the City Council and Mr. Mayor. I'm John Linskog, Vice President and Market Director of Real Estate for Chase Bank. We're excited to be coming with our second branch here in the city, our new one, and we would expect that over a period of time there'd be migration of those accounts to the new location. And we appreciate your consideration of our project. And one comment I'd like to make is that I believe the appellant owns the building where the Wells Fargo is located, and it's my expectation or my opinion that they're looking to preserve their tenants' competitive interests, so you need to consider that in your appeal. Thank you.
No, thank you. How are you doing?
Hi, Mayor Tui and honorable council members. Good evening. I'm Francis Park from Park and Vallejo, representing Westfield. I'm a land use attorney and a CEQA expert. I've been doing this for 17 years, working on complex projects. I'm here this evening to oppose the appeal filed for a new Chase Bank building at Eastland. The appeal is completed without merit. We've submitted a letter detailing all of that. Appellant has provided no evidence that they could in any conceivable way be adversely affected by the approval of this project. The appellant is located on the east side of Barranca Avenue, separated from the proposed bank by 6 lanes of traffic on Barranca and a distance of more than 1,500 feet. As I mentioned, we've provided a detailed response, point by point, and can go into as much detail as you'd like. But when you scratch the surface of those arguments, you'll find that they have no merit. What becomes clear is that the appeal consists of opinions and not facts about alleged impacts. There is no technical evidence supporting these allegations. In the latest letters received today, it's more of the same. This time the appellants cite to a particular CEQA case that allegedly makes their arguments against using a categorical exemptions. When you read the case, it does the complete opposite. Again, I can go into detail if you'd like, but what the case says is if you decide to use a categorical exemption, then the appellants have the burden of proof, in this case, to demonstrate 2 things. Number 1, that there are unusual circumstances, and number 2, that there's evidence that shows there's a reasonable possibility of a significant impact due to unusual circumstances. So in both of those instances, the appellant has failed to meet its burden of proof. There's no technical evidence. What they cite to is just their mere speculation that there may be traffic and parking impacts. We have a technical expert that's refuted each of those points. Your own city staff and the technical experts at city staff have refuted each of those points. So appellants have failed to produce substantial evidence of an unusual circumstances and a reasonable possibility of a significant impact. Again, what they provide is opinions, unsupported by facts, and certainly not supported by any technical evidence. There continues to be no merit in their appeal. Regarding the parking agreement, the appellant also falsely claims that the project will violate this 1977 agreement between Eastland and the city. That agreement pertains to an area located approximately 900 feet to the east of the proposed bank, and it would no way be affected by the project. We have our technical experts here to talk to you about any of the parking or traffic issues, but we won't go into any of that. Again, we ask that the findings that were provided to you, the supplemental findings, be made a part of this record and that you consider it as a part of your project approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have no other speaker cards. And the person that appealed that did not show up, so there is no rebuttal. I shall now close the public testimony portion of the public hearing and ask for council discussion. This council, I have one question. The appellant is the different entities involved. Eastland Tower Partnerships and Egan LLC are actually part of Hassan Holdings, Ziad Al Hassan companies. He just had a Chase Bank built on his property at the West Covina Village Shopping Center, which is another one of his entities. I don't know how it's technically held, but they're all under the Hassan Holdings, according to testimony he gave in the Carlos Thrasher case, that they're all owned by the one holding company, and we have done numerous other cases with them. So all these are Ziad Al Hassan entities, or where he may be the general partner. Was the same type of exemption granted the project where Black Angus used to be and the Chase Bank was built?
Yes, we used the same CEQA exemption on that.
So the same CEQA exemption was perfectly okay in a retail shopping center for the appellant's property, but not for someone else's? Is that what we're looking at?
That's the argument, I believe, yes.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to uphold the decision of the Planning Commission to allow the construction of a freestanding bank building and to adopt the following resolutions.
I'll second.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just again to keep a clean record, if the motion could be separate for each resolution, that would be best.
Do we have a heading of the resolutions?
First, excuse me. First resolution is 2012-32, a resolution of the City Council of the City of West Covina, California, approving precise plan number 12-01 on appeal of Planning Commission action, and this would uphold the Planning Commission decision.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Herford, second by Sanderson. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, 4-0. Next.
The second resolution, 2012-33, a resolution of the City Council of the City of West Covina, California, approving conditional use permit number 12-01 on appeal of Planning Commission action.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and second. All those, or roll call, please.
This is a resolution. We'll just take a...
It said below. That's fine. Motion to approve.
Aye.
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 Those opposed, 4-0. Thank you, guys are approved. And John, I want to make sure you know, even though Westfield took some hits tonight, I do appreciate over the last 2 years you guys investing $125 million in the city of West Covina. And I know sometimes people don't thank people who did that without city help. And I want to make sure the corporation knows we greatly appreciate the amount of jobs and the new investment you guys made on your own. So at least members of this council greatly appreciate that amount of money you invested in the worst economic time in our country. Thank you. Okay, the last item on the agenda is resolution adjusting city council stipends. This was my item. I just was bringing this up that whatever the rate. Oh, I'm sorry. Rob, get back in here. I've been used to seeing the seat empty for a couple of weeks, so sorry. We dropped down to resolution adjusting city council stipends. What I agendized is something that Joanne Wilner brought up that it's amazing. I know Joanne's in shock right now, but that if the commissioners don't attend their meeting, they don't get paid, to make sure that is consistent. It's similar to how our redevelopment rules work. So that's what I was looking to approve, making the commission not only the pay adjusted for what it is as listed here, but also that you have to attend the meeting to get paid for it. And I'd like to make a motion to approve that.
I second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Any council comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was reading something because I did have a question. I apologize for that.
Go ahead, then you can vote. Ask your
No,
question.
go ahead.
It's 3-1 right now.
No.
Oh, you just did that because you could. 3-2. It's approved. Thank you. And we drop down to the last item on the agenda, City Council request for report studies and investigations. Anyone wishing to agendize an item?
Yes.
Councilmember Sykes.
Thank you, Mayor Tui. I'm looking at what Glendora has been doing in the way of volunteering. The community is experiencing a financial gap, just like we are enduring. And one of the things that the residents are doing is stepping up and volunteering by way of adopting a park. And I'm hoping that we can perhaps look into what they're doing and see if we can implement such a plan here to help fill in the gap to our losses of staff to maintain our parks. And so absolutely, please look into that if we can, what Glendora is doing. I think it's a great idea that we all get involved, and I think that that also help us bring us more closer together as neighbors if we all are pitching in and working for the community. My other concern is, again, I spoke of it earlier. I'm new here, and so is Mr. Councilmember Sotelo. Search for city manager. Can we address that issue in that you have retired, sir, and we need to move forward. We love you, but we need to move forward. Thank you.
I don't understand the last. What are you saying to get rid of the current city manager now and to move forward with the recruiting process?
No, I'm not saying get rid. What I'm saying is that he is retired. Okay, so I think we need to start looking at, are we going to go with a temporary first? Because there are some political situations that are happening, and we don't know how that's going to fall out. But we do need to start preparing, and I just want to make sure that we start getting some options in on what we need to do and what we can look at, whether we're going to get a permanent replacement, or perhaps we can look at a temporary. But yeah, I would like for those things to be put in place for what we can do as to our approach on eventually doing something, because he is retired.
I think it's a good idea to start the process. I think
thank you.
City manager will probably be here till September, October, November. I think he's got 960. And I don't even know where we're at, so that might be the first thing to do, is find out where you're at and what the timing will be, and then go from there. With the budget constraints, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do a paid search. We might have to look at something else, but anyway, no problem with that.
My only concern in getting, and we need to do the process either, just based on your earlier request, it takes our deficit up to around $12 million to spend the other $10 million. And I'm not sure how many city managers are really want to come to a city where you're hiring people that they know they can't employ in the future. So you've added $10 million to the budget deficit today, or proposing to add $10 million to the budget deficit by hiring people and that don't go away. I mean, I think that's the big difference, and I'll make, comments. Fred, you did say it, but I mean, to hire people that you can't financially afford is an interesting concept. And again, I'm telling you, normally people come in and want the slate in the city somewhat righted, so they're not having to come in and have a slash and burn on a brand new person who may be the new city manager. That normally isn't how you welcome yourself to staff. But since you made that comment earlier, I just have my concerns around where the $10 million is coming from the second, third, fourth, and fifth year, unless you see a golden egg out there being laid. Yes, Councilmember Sykes.
Yes, Mayor. I think the question of what we can afford should be hashed out pretty soon. Once we lay the facts on the table, we'll have to deal with what we can afford. And I think we all know that nothing can be done without a majority. So my idea is to get us to lay the facts out, and then we'll go from there. And as far as hiring down the road, yes, that's absolutely what we need to do, is that we need to guarantee the money from this point going forward. We can't do like we've been doing in the past, voting for things that we don't have the luxury and we can't afford. So I'm trying to change that pattern, so that when we do make a decision on however many police officers we are going to be able to afford, that we make sure that we have built-in guarantees for the money. Thank you.
I just want to make sure I understand what you just stated. You said that we need to make sure where we're at financially, but you're proposing to go $10 million more in debt. Now, I'm just a little confused on that process of what you stated, because you did mention it when everyone was here, that you want to spend $10 million for hiring new officers. Now you said you have to try to figure out after they've left where the money may come from and if you can vote for it, and it may have to come up. I personally think you probably should have done that first before you told all the police officers here we were going to spend $10 million on recruiting more people. Then they leave, and now you're saying you have to look at it and study the numbers and find out what we can afford. That's not what they're going to think. They were told $10 million. Go ahead.
As I prefaced before, it's been out there in writing and verbally indicated time and time again, and even here tonight, about the 26th, because I heard the figure kind of walk back. It has been stated to be 29. So I'm going by that figure that we're supposed to have 29 million healthy reserve that I've seen in writing. And if we have that, then that's where we'll get the money from. If we don't have it, then this information should bear it out that we can't afford, because we don't have 29 million.
So you propose spending $10 million more in deficit to spend down our reserves, and that's exactly what the recall people are saying. You should balance your budget, and you're saying spend $10 million more. Fred, there's a reason why I probably have been self-employed all my life. That just don't add up on the numbers. When you want to talk about and debate the numbers, I understand we still need a certain number of dollars you have to have in cash to operate, because the state of California, who are a bunch of thieves, don't pay us our money till January that's owed in July. And you need a certain number of cash on hand to pay your bill until you get the property tax in sales tax payments. And if you're talking about taking all the cash we have left, what you're proposing, and again, I do probably say this is your inexperience, you're proposing to bankrupt the city the first year. And what the union doesn't understand, it was great when you said it when they were all here, is that would potentially put all their contracts subject to cancellation. You should have told them that you can break their contracts if we go bankrupt. But I understand they're not here, so you can say whatever you want.
If I may, Mayor, either we have the 29 million or we don't, and that's the bottom line. So if we have the 29 million and we have dangerously low police forces, I think the public wants to be protected, and we are getting dangerously low per capita.
Fred, if you operate your house, that you have $1,000 left in your savings account, and instead of keeping anything reserved, you just go ahead and spend the last $1,000, you may do that again. I don't know. But it's your proposal. You can justify it to them. I know the cops are gone, so they'll find out later on what was really going on. Do we have any other comments or anyone else wishing to add things on the agenda? If what? There is no public comment.
His statement.
Sir, you do not have a right to comment at this time. Sir, you don't have the right. I didn't. He has that on the agenda coming up. This is a time if you want to make requests. Do you have any comments? I thought you had a comment to make.
Well, actually, there was some back and forth going on, and talking of additional spending, I believe the only additional spending based on our documentation that we do get is a lot of our police and fire expenses. So again, we're going to have to work hard and try and come up with that. And the Mother May I items will come up, and we'll have the opportunity to talk about those at a later time. That was it.
No problem. If we have no other council comments, I'd like to make 2 adjournments. Tonight, I would like to adjourn the meeting in memory of our former Assistant Police Chief, Mark Tedesco, who succumbed to his cancer. Mark was a longtime employee in the city of West Covina. I've known him for many years, and he will truly be missed. I know his son works for us now, but if we can send our condolences to Lisa and the family for that. And also, it was a bad weekend in memory of our current worker, finance department employee, Thea McAlpine. She began her career here in 1998. Mark began his career here in 1977, but Thea, who worked in our payroll department, passed away over the weekend. Our thoughts and prayers are with both of the Tedescos and McAlpine's families at this difficult time. If I can have a motion to adjourn in memory of both of those.
Second.
Moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.